Shalom. Okay, we're gonna wait for a few people to get on. Okay, guys, had to move this up tonight, so we're just gonna wait about 7 minutes. Those of you on, we'll do it in 7 minutes. We'll begin. So those on YouTube later, because I don't have time to edit these out. We're going to 7 minutes. Hi, Megan. Shalom, shalom. We're going to start in 6 minutes now. We're going to be continuing in the book of Matthew, chapter 21. Hi, Jody. Shalom, sister. How are you? Good evening. Good evening. Erev Tov. Hi, Alex. I just saw Alex's little picture shine up there. Hi, Christy. Shalom, shalom, guys. Hello. Hi, everyone. I need to already make notes. You're tired. Well, Jody, you want to come tomorrow at 5 a.m.? Be here. We're going to be loading hay. Hi, Alex. Hi, Dorothy. Shalom, shalom, guys. So 5 a.m. tomorrow, Jody. You got all the energy in the world. We're going to be loading 600 bales of hay. I'm tired. This has been an intense couple weeks, which is good. It's what we need. That's what Yahweh has. It's all good. It's all good. This is the first day. Just a little bit ago, I took off the bandage of my wound that had no skin because I finally got skin yesterday on the burn. Praise Yahweh. So Alex, thank you for asking. It's a little sore without having it covered, but I wanted to let it breathe today. My right leg has been able to breathe for like 3 days now, but my left leg just, yeah, it doesn't look tear. I was gonna try to show you. Hi guys, just a little bit, because now I have skin again, and now it's not all discolored as badly. It's kind of nice having skin, I'll say. I'm gonna try to take a shower tonight. I've been doing sponge baths. Let me show you something. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see, but it's so much better. I mean, I know it looks kind of gross, and you can't even see how dark colored it is, but that is, see how much better it is? It doesn't even, like, that looks healed. It doesn't even look anything like that used to look like. The pictures that I shared with some of my friends, it's like, ooh, it was bad. So that is good. I got skin again. It's starting to peel. Praise Yahweh. My friend's little daughter fell Monday night, so you know to be keeping that in prayer. Shalom, everybody. We're going to start in 4 more minutes. I'm just thankful I have skin. I was able to take off the bandage. Thank you all for your prayers. And so it is healing well. This leg is just discolored, but I mean, going from a 2nd and 3rd degree burn to this quickly, I think is a miracle. Well, Megan, it's not bad anymore, praise Yahweh. Huh? So Fifi is, she's alive, and like I talked to her mom this morning, and so it's a miracle she's alive to begin with. And hi, Lisa. But the nice thing is that they've got her, I guess she's stable, but she fell 2 stories to concrete ground. Ugh, it just breaks my heart. She's such a sweet little girl. If you just knew her, you would just know what a sweet little girl she is. She is, and I love her mom and her dad. They're wonderful people. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, thank you for your prayers on this. 3 more minutes, guys, and we're going to begin reading. Hi, Kimberly. Shalom, Lisa. Shalom, Angela. Hello, Isabel. Hello, Darlene. How is everybody? I had to move it up tonight, which is probably better because Miss Tristan, you can actually join us, huh, sweetie? How's everything going in your guys' life? Anybody need any prayer? Anybody? I'm always praying for you guys. Anything? Hi, Angela. So she's alive, Kimberly. She fell Monday night, and I talked to the mama this morning, and she said she's stable, but they're still checking. Like, it's still critical, but it sounds like she's stable, and there's a whole bunch of miracles. Annie said a whole bunch of miracles have been happening. So I'm so excited you're here too, Tristan. Okay, guys, we're going to start in 2 more minutes. And I can't do a super long one because I took down a fence. We're getting hay tomorrow, 600 bales of hay tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Right in time. I got the burns on my legs right in time. And if you know how you pitch up bales, it's going to be fun. Yahweh will protect. But anyway, Oh, I have to stop early a little bit because I have to move some hay. I have to move like 50 bales of hay. Yeah, Francis, I know prayers for where to move. Okay, I do pray that Father would show you where to go. Father God, please open the door for Eric and Tristan where to be. Please protect them, guide them, bless them, help them just to maneuver exactly where you want for your protection. And please help Jody not be old. I'm teasing Jody. Father God, please help Jody just to learn all the stuff she needs to learn. Open her mind to comprehend everything at her new job. Please bless her, protect her, provide for her, show her what to do, open a place for her to live. Please help, Father, in the name of Yeshua, amen. Hi, Amy. Shalom, shalom, guys. One more minute. One more minute, and we're in Matthew. It's funny, my husband came home a couple hours ago. Hi, Isabel, sweetie. Oh, yeah, Angela lives in Tennessee. So Angela, she's praying where to move in Tennessee. Hi, guys. Hi, Jude. Hi, Ivy. Yes, I don't know if she's responsive, Ivy. I don't know. When I was talking to Annie, I just was trying to be comforting and just tell her I want to hold her. Annie's like, when I closed my store, she came and brought me a present. Like, she came to my store every single day and had lunch with me, and I took photos of her and her daughter, and I love that little family. The daughter, the girl that fell through, she came out to my fields a couple years, and my cows were out there, and she just walks right up to them and loves the cows. She's so gentle. It's just really sad. Hello, everybody. Hi, Angela. Prayers for restoration. Father God, please restore Sarah. You know what she needs. In the name of Yeshua. And I do want to pray for my friends. They used to have Zedekiah Wares, and now they changed the name to Sojourners, Wyoming, or something like that. Please pray for them, for the Father to open a door for them to know where to be in Wyoming. I need prayers, but I'm not sure what. Okay. Well, Father God, please protect Kimberly, deliver her, strengthen her, provide for her, help her. Shalom. Hi, Mel. Where is the Shavuot? So Shavuot was May 19th, if you followed the barley harvest. So let's talk about that. It's time to begin. Thank you for your prayers, guys. Hi, Bonnie. Hi. Okay, so how is it? Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, Lisa, please, Lord, heal her congestion. Please, Father, help. Now, let's bow our heads and our hearts in prayer. And then I want to talk a little bit about Shavuot. And it could not be tonight anyway. You can never have a Shavuot always has to be on the first day of the week because it has to be the day after the 7th Sabbath. Yesterday wasn't a Sabbath. And so the 50th day is always the day after the 7th Sabbath. But let's talk a little bit about that after we pray. Yahweh Elohim, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we bow our hearts and our minds to you. We acknowledge that you and you alone are God. We thank you for your mercies, your grace, your love, your provision, your gentleness, your forgiveness, your kindness, and when we pass that forward, may we have no grudge to anybody else, Lord, or you won't hear our prayer. May we forgive freely those who have wronged us because we have been forgiven for so much. Thank you, Yeshua, for giving your life for us. Thank you for paying the price for when we do sin. You've covered that. Please lead us and guide us in holiness so we do not trample your name. We ask for healing together for Fifi. Father God, please, for miraculous testimony to your healing power, and in your name, Yeshua HaMashiach, would you please heal the little girl? Of course, we always ask you to teach the lessons, but Father, please, in your mercy and grace, sustain and heal. We ask for all the prayer requests that I mentioned them as they came up, Father God, but please bring healing, provision, direction, guidance to all your people, protection. Please come and teach us tonight. Please guide us, set guard over my lips, never let me say anything not of you, Father God. Please set guard over the connection that everybody could hear clearly for your glory. Oh, Father, we love you and thank you for everything. We bless your name in the name of Yeshua. Amen. Okay, guys. Now, I want to quickly point out something here. Prayers for healing and protection for all of us. We leave Sunday. Oh, I do pray for healing and protection for Amy and her family as they go to Korea. South Korea, right? I should clarify. Now, here's the thing. The Father made a calendar for us that is very observable. People are trying to convolute it since 2015, and people are trying to make up weird stuff. They have no idea what they're talking about. Judaism created a calendar for unification purposes across the world is anti-biblical. And they said they go off the conjunction of the new moon, and so that everybody celebrates it at the same time. They went off the conjunction of the new moon after the Babylonian exile to make sure there was no confusion. The problem in that is that they take away the prophetic picture of the 7th month. The first day of the month is Yom Teruah, a day or hour we don't know. And that is a parallel that's talked about in Zechariah 14, where Yeshua returns neither day nor night, but at evening it shall happen. The day always begins at evening. Do not listen to the garbage out there saying that the sunrise is the beginning of the days. It's not. Every single person who's presented those verses are out of context. And I was an English grammar professor. I taught reading, writing, and comprehension, business writing. The people who are using a few verses out of context literally cannot understand the grammar of what they're reading. I have looked at it, and I can't get through their heads, some of them. And then they'll say, well, right, you know, on Yom Kippur it has to start from evening, because Leviticus 23 says your Sabbath shall be from sunset to sunset for Yom Kippur. They said that one in Passover starts at evening. That wouldn't work. He wouldn't change this calendar for 2 days and then go back to the regular. It's that spirit the Father told me that was hitting his people in, remember, 2012 when he woke me up. And it really hit from 2012 to 2015, and then it's exploded. So, throw that garbage out. Throw those thoughts out. Those are not true. The day does not begin at sunrise. It's very unbiblical teaching. You can look at Josephus's writing. You can look at historical people who've tracked what the Hebrews did forever. Jesus was a Jew. The disciples were Jews, and they always celebrated Sabbath in the day from sunset to sunset. There's no lunar Sabbath. You don't begin counting the week again at a new moon sighting. That's ridiculous. It's garbage and it's unbiblical. Again, it started after 2012, where people who had never been raised in the Torah decided they thought they understood more than the people from the past. Remember the warning I received in 2012 that the daughter was awakening and they were going to think they knew more than her mother. They were going to get led astray by head knowledge. So be careful of those things, because the Father told me the prophecy and then it started coming to pass. Now, I'm gentle with you guys. I love you. But there's some things that are just, I have to call out what I know is wrong, as the Father has warned me. So with Shavuot, the Rabbinic Judaism calendar decided to go off the conjunction of the new moon, which is non-observable. You had to have advanced astronomical kind of technology. They had to be advanced to a certain degree beyond what they were when they came out of Egypt to be able to do that. So it doesn't work. It wasn't what they had, but it's what they're pretending they had. And they do it to say that then everybody knows in advance. They do it, you can project out for years, but the Bible says we must be watching and waiting, specifically for the Feast of Trumpets, okay? Now, today can't be a high Sabbath. It's impossible. Today would never, ever, no matter what calendar you go on, be the Shavuot. Shavuot is always on the first day of the week because it falls on the 50th day, the day after the 7th Sabbath. Yesterday was not a Sabbath. Day 49 has to be a Sabbath. Yesterday was not a Sabbath. Yesterday was Tuesday. There was no Sabbath yesterday. Now, the ancient Israelites were being brought out of Egypt. The Father gave them a very observable calendar. And he said, this is the beginning of your months. And he called it Abib. See, that word meant something to them. Abib is a specific stage of barley ripeness. And so when the Israelites, a simple shepherd people, could see the barley in the stage of greenness called Abib, they knew it was a beginning of the year. They knew that at the next new moon sighting, they would begin the year. See, on March 10th or so, they saw the barley in the stage of Abib, and it was proven and clarified because within 2 weeks they found so much barley in that stage of Abib that we could have easily brought it to the Feast of First Fruits, which is required. A month later, when the Rabbinic Judaism celebrated their Passover and Feast of First Fruits, the barley was so far past the stage of Abib, it was starting to be needing to be finished harvest. See, that doesn't work. The first fruits is to be at the beginning of the harvest. So you must go off the barley harvest in order to bring the first of it, before you can eat of it, to the temple. And so that was, what was it, March 11th was the new moon or something that they saw after they saw the, okay, I'm sorry, back up. The shepherds would have seen the barley in the stage of Abib. At the physical sighting of the new moon, the next one, within just a few days of that barley, they would have said, boom, it's the new year. And then they would go from there. The new moon never begins a new week. The new moon begins no new counting cycle. It simply tells us when we have a new month. The 7-day week is set in stone. Every 7 days we go. First, day second, day third, day fourth, day fifth, day sixth, day seventh. No matter what, that's established in Genesis 1. Not some weeks don't have 5 days, some weeks don't have 8 days. The lunar Sabbath calendar is bogus. So be careful, be careful, be careful. Now, let's go back again. I have to say these caveats that come out. In Israel, the first Israelites, when they were coming out of Egypt again, would have seen this barley in the stage of Abib. At the next new moon sighting, they would have, boom, declared it the new year. This year, it was like March 11th, and for Passover was like March 25th, and the Feast of First Fruits was right in there, that Sunday after the weekly Sabbath. Now let's clarify that in Leviticus 23. The Sabbath, okay, so the day after the Sabbath, during the week of unleavened bread, is when we begin counting the Omer, so to speak. But not the day after Passover, not the day after the yearly Sabbath, not the day after the Passover, not the day after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's the day after the weekly Sabbath during the week of unleavened bread, and I can prove that because that's the first day of the week. And then we must count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath, okay? 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. Please listen again. 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. What's the day after the 7th Sabbath? A first day of the week. A Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. So if we have 7 sets of 49 days and then count to the day after it, we get on the feast, the first day of the week. And so Shavuot this year was May 19th. So Saturday night to Saturday sunset to Sunday sunset, the first day of the week. And like I said, I can prove that because that has to be 50 days from a day that was the day after the Sabbath, because you had to start on the first day of the week to count. And so you start counting on the first day of the week, 49 days later puts you on a Sabbath, and the following day is Shavuot. So Shavuot could never have been today. Never. Impossible. It can never be on any day of the week other than the first day of the week to fulfill the commandment of that. Does that make sense? Can I get thumbs up if you're tracking that? Can I get thumbs up if you're tracking? If you're confused, can you say confused? I just want to make sure you understand. Jessica, if you're wondering, I don't know, I started the live, I put out an announcement on my page earlier that I was going to go an hour and a half earlier because I got to be in the field by 5 a.m. picking up hay tomorrow morning. Okay, so that does make sense. Good. Okay, now, let me see. I just came back from when the first life started. Had the sun been shining like this the whole time? I just never noticed. No, I noticed the same thing, and I heard the Lord tell me, is that what you guys were talking about? I heard him say, Mel, this is my words coming right now through you. I heard him say that. I heard him say, Mel, this is like me shining on you because I need them to hear. This is the truth. So I was like, oh, cool. So I just kept ignoring. I didn't read the comments, but I just kept going with what he was telling me to share about Shavuot there. I love it when he does that because I know sometimes it's his anointing on it, his blessing. Okay, are we supposed to plant barley in our own backyards? Oh, Sarah, good question. No, this is for the land of Israel. We're scattered in exile. And so what we do is we follow different platforms, renewedmoon.com, Devorah's Date Tree, and Hebrew in Israel, who look for the Abib barley. Now, interesting, Devorah's Date Tree found 4 of the 7 fields ripe in the stage of Abib 2 weeks before it would have been the Feast of First Fruits, where we would have taken the first of the barley harvest to the temple. But yet, she decided to go off the next month. Again, though, like I said, it was proven the next month the barley was so far past the stage of Abib that it was almost ready to be finished harvesting. So they missed it by a month. They missed it. Because if you were celebrating Shavuot now, and that means your feast of, if you had celebrated it Sunday, and if your feast of Shavuot, your Feast of First Fruits had been 50 days before that, you were a month late. The harvest, the first fruits was gone. It was already done, past, and you were to the finished harvest. Those of you who are farmers know what I'm talking about. They found way more than an omer in the fields, plenty of fields throughout Israel from north to south, all across, not genetically modified fields, all sorts of fields. They found it. And then the Father confirmed it with us. He gave a prophetic word the very night that we were doing Passover, and he gave another prophetic, anyway, you could just see the barley showed it all. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to go back here because there's so many questions. You're a little confused, Megan. Okay, so Rabbinic Judaism, remember Judaism is what Yeshua taught against. Judaism makes their own rules. They say they're founded on the Torah, but they make their own rules, and they truly follow the Talmud. Some people say the Talmud, but it's the Talmud. I've heard people really lately say the Talmud, but it's like, no, it's the Talmud. Now, with Rabbinic Judaism, they decided for ease of calendrical calculations to make a calendar based on the conjunction of the new moon. They have decided, Megan, that they will ignore the commandment of God to look for the barley harvest and the new moon sighting, and they will simply make a calendar that fits the sequence of projected new moon cycles and is based more on different variances, not observable. Let's say that, not observable things. But the Bible told us that when we physically see the barley that's Abib, then we know it's time to start the new year. See, the barley in Abib is right before it's truly edible. It's edible, but it's not harvestable, right? So the barley in the stage of Abib is the very first stage of barley ripeness. It's this green stage where you can eat it, and you can bring the first omers, but it's not quite harvestable yet. It hasn't dried, hasn't produced in the head yet fully, all of it. And so it's right before, right after the worm stage, right? Which is called, it's just whatever, it looks like little worms come out. So the barley, when they see this green barley, they know within a few weeks it's going to be harvestable. And so then they would take an omer on the Feast of First Fruits to the temple. On that day is always during the middle of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, on the day after the weekly Sabbath, not the yearly Sabbaths. On the day after the weekly Sabbath, you begin counting the Omer during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. During that 7-day holiday, you find whichever day is the Sunday or the Saturday sunset to Sunday sunset, you start counting that day. And that is the first day, that's the Feast of First Fruits, and you count 50 days from there. And 50 days later always puts you on another first day of the week, and that is Shavuot. That's why today would be impossible, because it says in Leviticus 23 that you must count 7 Sabbaths to the day after the 7th Sabbath. Does that make sense? And so to the day after yesterday wasn't the 7th Sabbath. That doesn't work. I don't know how they're missing that. So the biblical calendar is based on observable measures. The barley in the stage of Abib, and then every time when I see the new moon sliver, after it's been dark and gone, after it waxed, then it's after it waned, and then it comes back, I'll see the very first sliver, boom, that's the new month. The new month does not begin a new counting cycle. It does not begin, there's not just 28 days in every month. There's 28 to 30 days, depending on when we see it. Again, Zechariah 14 proves it all. At evening it shall happen, when he returns, when we will see the light, it's neither day nor night, but at evening. And we don't know when that day is going to be. Is it a day or hour? We don't know. Because the new moon sighting can be over a 3-day period. So we are expectantly waiting. That's a prophecy of waiting for when our Messiah returns. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so which Sabbath starts the count? The last Sabbath after Passover. The Sabbath, none of the yearly Sabbaths, but it's during the middle of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the day after the weekly Sabbath during those 7 days. So you find the Sabbath during that 7-day period of unleavened bread. Like there's your Saturday, Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. That next day is Feast of First Fruits. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. So this Sabbath, I did have to push the teaching up to 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time because we are going up the mountain as a fellowship. Jody, mark your calendar. Are there more questions? Did that help you, Megan? Are you understanding? Okay. Hi, Ryan. Shalom, shalom. I just want to make sure people are understanding because we don't want to leave somebody in the dust. And even those who understand, the more explanation, the better. Okay. Now, Tonight, I'm just doing mint tea in my milk. Heaven and the children say hi also. Shalom, Heaven. And Yeladim le Yeshua means children of Yeshua. Okay, I think that we can go on. Let's begin. I think that was really good for Shavuot. If you do have more questions, just reach out to me. Sometimes it takes our brains a little bit of time to calculate. The other thing is, Cassandra, I just was wondering where you are. I knew Danielle knew, but she was shy. Hi, Tammy. I knew that she was with her children. So, okay. Now, let's get over here on the Blue Letter Bible to Matthew 21. We just talked about Shavuot. We just talked about that. If you have questions, please save them for a minute, and then I'll open up for questions. We already prayed. Let's get going. Now, okay. I know, right? Remember, Matthew has over 2,000 manuscripts in the Greek text. Matthew is not a first-hand account. Only the book of John is a first-hand account. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are second and third-hand accounts. The Passover story in the book of Matthew, Mark, and Luke are incorrect according to the story of Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy. Okay, so especially Deuteronomy. So they got off. But the book of John has the timeline of Passover perfect that matches the Torah. So I just wanted to point that out. And so if you have questions, let me know. Some of these things I will have to clarify and send you to the book of John. Again, because the book of Matthew is not a first-hand account. It is not a biography, but rather an autobiography. Now, when they drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, then Yeshua sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, you shall say, 'The Lord has need of them,' and immediately he will send them." All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey." So the disciples went and did as Yeshua commanded them. Notice Yeshua knew the prophecy, and he's doing what was foretold of him to do. He says, go into Bethphage, get me a donkey, bring it here, I'm going to ride it in. Because he knew this prophecy from the book of Zechariah. It's actually Zechariah 9:9. I couldn't remember exactly, so I had to click. I knew it was Zechariah. Now, okay, so the disciples went and did as Yeshua commanded them. They brought the donkey and the colt, laid their clothes on them, and set him on them. And a very great multitude spread their clothes on the road. Others cut down branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Then the multitudes who went before and those who followed cried out, saying, "Hosanna, Hosanna to the Son of David." They understood that this was a prophetic Messiah, Mashiach ben David. And they said, "Save now. Save now." Okay, sorry, I should not read the comments. I gotta stay focused. Okay, Hosanna means to save now. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna Hagadol. And when he had come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, "Who is this?" So the multitude said, "This is Yeshua, the prophet from Nazareth of Galilee." Then Yeshua went into the temple of Elohim and drove out all those who bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. Why were there money changers in the temple? I will tell you. They were getting close to the festival of Pesach, Passover, and unleavened bread. Pesach is the name of the sacrifice, goes right into the festival of unleavened bread. Now, when you lived far from Jerusalem, please go read Deuteronomy, chapters like 12 through 16. If you lived far from Jerusalem, you could sell your vowed offering where you were and take that money and buy an animal within maybe it's chapter 18. Anyway, you could buy an animal within the gates of Jerusalem to replace the animal. Because let's say I lived 70 miles from Jerusalem, I would sell my animal in Jerusalem, let's say I'm up north in what's that saying? Sorry, I'm like having a brain fart. Anyway, let's say I'm up north, really far from Israel or from Jerusalem, and I don't want my cow to have to walk that far, or my lamb or my goat, whatever it would be. I would sell it, take that money, and buy a replacement in Jerusalem. The problem here was that the people in Jerusalem who were selling these animals were profiting from it. They weren't doing it humbly. They were taking advantage of the people. So they're making money off a commanded thing of God's people to do. Yahweh said, sell your animal and then go to Jerusalem and replace that animal, offer that one in the temple. Now, you don't get to do the offering. Remember, the priests do it for you. But my point is then you would give it to the priests. And so this is what Yeshua is coming up against, because people are there, rightfully so. They should be able to purchase an animal, but these people are doing it in an improper way and in the house of God itself. It should have been done outside, whatever it should have been done, and not at extortion rates. Like, don't extort somebody and say you have to pay me extra because you have to have an animal. So I'm going to charge you 2 times as much. Because, you sold your animal over there. Now you have to have this for the Passover offering. So I'm going to charge you 2 times as much. They were taking advantage of the people and doing wicked stuff like that. Okay. Read a lot of historians' writings about that time frame. It's kind of neat to see how they put it in perspective, like Josephus and stuff. So then the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant and said to him, do you hear what they are saying? And Yeshua said to them, yes. Have you never heard, out of the mouth of babes and nursing infants you have perfected praise? Notice how he didn't get mad, and he didn't try to tone down himself. He didn't try to say, excuse it away, like people try to make us. He just knew the truth. He knew. And he said, right, I hear what they're saying. They're speaking truth. See, he didn't change his answer to appease the masses. Remember that. Then he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he returned to the city, he was hungry, and seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves, and said to it, let no fruit grow on you ever again. Immediately the fig tree withered away. Now seems a little rash, right? You had no figs for me, boom. But of course it's a symbolic picture that the fig tree, figs represent life and fertility, life in Hebrew, in the Hebrew tradition. There was nothing there that he expected to reap from it. Nothing there he expected to partake in, nothing. So he cursed it. And that was a sign to us. Because if he finds no fruit in us, if he finds no life in us, and we are supposed to be bearing his fruit, he is going to destroy us. Remember that. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how did the fig tree wither away so soon? So Yeshua answered and said to them, assuredly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, it will be done. And whatever things you ask in prayer, believing you will receive. This does not say, this again, don't take this out of context. It doesn't say you can pray for a new car. It doesn't say you can pray for your favorite clothing. It doesn't say you can pray to live a certain number of years. That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about with a humble and pure heart, praying for the will of Yahweh Elohim. When you pray according to his will, when you have faith, it will be done. Now when he came into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people confronted him as he was teaching and said, by what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority? I get that all the time. Who is this woman? Who are you? You're going to get it. Who are you? Aren't you like the person I went to school with? Aren't you my sister? Aren't you my daughter? Aren't you my son? Right? Okay. And remember to hold your questions to the end of the chapter so I can then read them, because I won't see them until we get there. So they said, who are you? Like, where's your authority come from? Like, I was taught under Gamaliel. I was taught under this synagogue leader or this, and he's nobody, but he is everybody, right? They don't know that, but they think on his physically earthly credentials, like, who is this guy? And he says, but Yeshua answered and said to them, I also will ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, where was it from? From heaven or from men? And they reasoned among themselves, saying, if we say from heaven, he'll say to us, why then did you not believe him? Because see, John the Baptist bore witness that Yeshua was the Messiah. Right? We saw that. And everybody knew John the Baptist was a prophet. So he says, was his authority from heaven or men? And so then they're trapped here, right? Because they said, if we say heaven, then he's going to say, why did you not believe him? Because they said he is the Messiah. John said he's the Messiah. But if we say from men, we fear the multitude, for all count John as a prophet. So they're like, we can't say that John was from men because everybody knows John was a prophet. So they answered Yeshua and said, we do not know. And he said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. But what do you think? A man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he regretted it and went. Then he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I go, sir. But he didn't go. Which of the 2 did the will of his father? They said to him, the first. Yeshua said to them, assuredly I say to you that tax collectors and harlots enter the kingdom of Elohim before you. Because here's the thing. 2 sons, children of God. All of us that are listening, I can guarantee, almost guarantee, if we have a heart for God, we were the first ones who at first lived for ourselves. We were like, I'm not going to tend in your vineyard, Lord. No way. I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to go party and have fun, live for break the Sabbath, do my own things. And then we regretted it and we turned and said, oh, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to tend your fields. Now, religious people who think they're okay with God, they're like, sure, I'll go do it. And they don't. They just do their man-made traditions and religions of men. They're forsaking what God told them to do. They're setting aside the commandments of God to hold to their traditions of men. But they said they would do it, but they didn't. Okay, so that's a good parallel, a good story there. Assuredly I say to you that, okay, verse 32, for John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But tax collectors and harlots believed him. And when you saw it, you did not afterward relent and believe him. Who resists the truth of God more than anybody? Religious people. On my page, as I've been sharing, and on your pages as you've been sharing, the people who come to the truth of Yahweh are the ones who know we were tax collectors and harlots and wicked. The religious people who think they're okay because of their man-made traditions and are really steeped in it, they're missing it. This is why relationship is so vital and religion needs to be lost. We must lose our religion and get relationship with Yahweh so that we understand how wicked and wretched we were and see the grace that we've been given. 33, hear another parable. There was a certain landowner who planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it, dug a winepress in it, and built a tower. And he leased it to wine dressers and went into a far country. Now when vintage time drew near, he sent his servants to the vine dressers that they might receive its fruit. And the vine dressers took his servants, beat one, killed one, and stoned another. What are they doing to the servants of Yahweh? Beating us, killing us, so to speak, stoning us. Again, he sent other servants more than the first, and they did likewise to them. Then last of all, he sent his son, Yeshua, saying, they will respect my son. But when the vine dressers saw the son, the people in charge of the vineyard, the religious people, when they saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and seize his inheritance. So they took him and cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, when the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those vine dressers? They said to him, he will destroy those wicked men miserably and lease his vineyard to other vine dressers who will render to him the fruits in their seasons. Yeshua said to them, have you never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone? This was Yahweh's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I say to you, the kingdom of Elohim will be taken from you and given to a nation bearing the fruits of it. Do not think that is modern day Christianity, because modern day Christianity only bears the fruits of the Antichrist, lawless one. It was the scattered Ephraimites and Gentiles who turned and repented. Remember in Colossians chapter 2, the new believers were warned and admonished to keep the It says, let no one judge you in regards to foods or festivals or new moons or Sabbaths, for they are a shadow of things to come and the substances of Christ. Those weren't talking about pagan holidays. It is talking to formerly Gentile believers who have been grafted into the body of Israel, who are zealously holding to the commandments of God. And Paul says, don't let others judge you. The people who did not convert, don't let them judge you when you were keeping the new moons, the feasts, the Sabbaths, and eating the dietary laws. Don't let others judge you for doing so, because they're shadows of things to come. They're prophecies of things to come. And the substance of them is about Messiah, right? You can't say that about pagan holidays. But what you can say is that Yeshua died at Passover, rose on Feast of First Fruits. We got the Holy Spirit on Shavuot. We had he returns the Feast of Trumpets. Day of Atonement, he judges the world. And the Feast of Tabernacles, he begins his reign for 1,000 years. Wow, right? Those are shadows of things to come, all about the role of our Messiah. Can't say that about pagan holidays. And so again, those were the people to who the message was then opened up. And they were going to provoke to jealousy those of Judah. Whoever falls on this stone will be broken, but on whomever it falls, it will grind them to powder. Now when the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he was speaking of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitudes, because they took him for a prophet. Do not expect to be popular, well-liked, or spoken well of if you follow Messiah Yeshua. He was hated and persecuted by the religious people. The religious people are mean and nasty. They want religion, not relationship. They want to feel that they're okay. They have an arrogant pride about them that wants them to feel like they're okay. But let's just be humble truth seekers, because then we'll never stop learning, we'll never stop growing, and we don't have to know it all. Our God knows it all. We simply want his truth. Okay, it helps get more eyes on Yahweh's truth when we share these lives. Okay, she must be answering somebody. Any questions before I go on to the next chapter? Any questions? Any questions, beloveds? Sorry for that slurping sound. This is Megan. Okay, this is Megan's teen. I'm just curious about the Trinity. Are there three in one? Well, no, they're not just one. The one there is the word echad, which is the same word for husband and wife. Echad just means same in purpose, vision, unity. Like, I can say, oh my gosh, my husband and I are so one. That means we're in sync with each other. There's a separate Father, there's a separate Son, and there's a separate Holy Spirit. More like a triune head. Above. Okay, paste it again, Sarah, because I can't scroll through everything. There's just too many. I can't do it on the lives. So go ahead and copy and paste, and then boom, I'll see it again, because otherwise I get lost. What does it mean when he says amen before his sentences? Let it be so. Amen is a Hebrew, like from amen, let it be so. I have one, but it's not about this. My grace is sufficient. Is that in the Tanakh? No, I don't think that's a quote from the Tanakh. Is it from the Psalms? No, I mean, it's a premise that's pushed throughout Scripture, but I don't see those exact words except in the quote, renewed covenant. Why are we doing Matthew on here and not Jeremiah? Because I just decided to. I don't know. Because of the Cheese Whiz. Because I was going to download and keep going through Matthew. Whenever my son had a question when he was little, he'd go, why cuz? Why cuz? And I'd say, because of the Cheese Whiz. Okay. Oh, we didn't eat Cheese Whiz. But he was always like, why? Why cuz? Why cuz? When he was little. Why cuz? And I'm like, because of the Cheese Whiz. Okay. I tried that with Morgan's Grills the other day and it worked. But they're like, what's Cheese Whiz? I thought we were in Jeremiah as well, so I'm thankful someone put the book as well. Oh, sorry guys, you were like looking in Jeremiah. No, I just decided to do Matthew tonight because I only have a little bit of time anyway before I go move about 50 bales of hay to get ready for the 600 we're getting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Okay, okay, I was just curious. Yeah, I just decided to go through Matthew because she got hit by a billion rays of sunshine. God told her Matthew. I did. I felt Matthew tonight. So I don't know. Listen. Who's all going to be here at 5 a.m. tomorrow? Who wants to help lift some bales of hay? Many hands make light work. Please come. It's only, 65 pounds? Come on, you can do it. Is that all? Exactly. Well, tonight I got to move 50 bales. Tomorrow it's 600. Good workout. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Because of the cheese whiz. Yep, because of the cheese whiz. Okay, Matthew 22. And Yeshua and can you tell I'm tired? And Yeshua answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, I want to pause right here. When you speak to any Jewish person, they will almost always teach in parables, pictures, and stories. Parables, pictures, and stories. And so just remember that when Yeshua's doing this is the very traditional Hebrew way of teaching, okay? Thank you all for wanting to help. You're amazing. Okay, so Yeshua answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. So he sent all these people, come on, come to the wedding marriage, come to the wedding ceremony of my son. And they're like, we're not coming. Ugh. And sent out, okay. Again, he sent out other servants saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding. But they made light of it and went their ways. One to his farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his servants. And the servants, remember, the prophets and the teachers and the ones speaking the truth of God, treated them spitefully and killed them. But when the king heard about it, this is Yahweh, he was furious. And he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. So this is talking about, he's talking to the children of Israel here, the tribe of Judah in particular, the house of Judah. He invited them, and many Jews rejected him. He had a small group of followers. That was it. Therefore go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. Now, I don't know why it says both bad and good. I will say, I think that's probably a translational error. Remember, there's over 2,000 texts of Matthew. You wouldn't bring the bad in because he literally right here is going to cast out the bad person. So there's just something, I think, translationally off on this one. But so they found both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. Because, like, if you continue murdering or committing adultery, you're not going to the wedding ceremony, believe me. But when the king came in to see the guests, he saw a man there who did not have on a wedding garment. So he said to him, friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment? And the word friend is more like neighbor. And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, and cast him into utter darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. So make sure you have your wedding garments on. Make sure you have your wedding garb on. Make sure you are covered in the righteous acts of the saints, like we're told in the book of Revelation. Make sure you're obedient to Messiah Yeshua, covered in his salvation of Yeshua. Verse 15, then the Pharisees went and plotted how they might entangle him in his talk. People will try to entangle you in your talk, guys. It's okay sometimes to be silent. They're trying to trip you up in your words. They twist scripture out of context, and they're trying to trip you up. And they sent to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, teacher, we know that you are true. This is flattery. They don't believe this. We know that you're true and teach the way of God in truth, nor do you care about anyone, for you do not regard the person of men. Tell us, therefore, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Now they're trying to trick him. Remember that. And they're flattering him like, you speak only the truth. But Yeshua perceived their wickedness. Notice that not everybody who says good things to you is good. These people spoke the right things. You teacher, you speak the truth. The way of the truth is in you. You don't regard any man things that are right. You must know the serpent that's behind that sheep's skin. The wolf behind the sheep's skin. You must see it. There are people who will flatter you and say it, but in their heart they're a frenemy. They're a frenemy. Be careful. So Yeshua perceived their wickedness and said, why do you test me, you hypocrites? Show me the tax money. So they brought him a denarius, and he said to them, whose image and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. And he said to them, render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to Elohim the things that are Elohim's. And when they had finished these words, they marveled, and they left him and went their way. The same day, the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him and asked him, saying, saying, Teacher, Moses said that if a man dies, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were with us 7 brothers. The first died after he had married, and having no offspring, left his wife to his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third, even to the 7th. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife of the 7 will she be? They're trying to catch him again. They're trying to test him. Because since they don't believe there's a resurrection, they're like, see, this proves there's no resurrection. Whose wife is she going to be in the resurrection? For they all had her. Yeshua answered and said to them, You're mistaken, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels of Elohim in heaven. But concerning the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitudes heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. Beautiful, beautiful comeback. I want you to point out something. He had sent for the donkey, came into Jerusalem, and what's happening? He's being interrogated. In the book of Exodus, we hear about the Passover lamb being taken into the house on day 10 for inspection. Inspect it to see if there's any spot in it. Yeshua is being inspected. He's fulfilling that prophetic picture in that 4 days, from day 10 of Abib to day 14 of Abib. And he's being interrogated and inspected, and there's no spot to be found in him. Beautiful. Now, so when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. Then one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him and saying, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Again, testing him. Yeshua said to him, You shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. So it's the big one, because everything in the Torah is about how to love God. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. It doesn't say it does away with the other laws in the prophets. On those 2 laws, love God, love your neighbor. Those 2 commandments are like chapter headings. Think about all the other commandments hanging from them, dangling from them. Somebody's put that in pictures. I've said it for 20-some years. That's what I pictured it as. And somebody actually put it into like a diagram. I loved it. All the commandments can be divided into 2 categories. How to love God or how to love your neighbor. Beautiful. Verse 4, but it doesn't say they're the only 2 commandments. And if anybody says that, it's like, no, they're just 2 sections of the book. All these commandments fit over here. All these commandments fit over here. We all had to do that stuff in school. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Yeshua asked them, saying, What do you think about the Messiah? Whose son is he? They said to him, The son of David. He said to them, How then does David in the Spirit call him Lord, saying, Yahweh said to my Adonai, Sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. If David then calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day on did anyone dare question him anymore. The reason they couldn't answer was because they would be trapped. Because they had to understand then, if people, because remember they were calling out, Hoshana, Hoshana, son of David, save now. Son of David, son of Ben David. Son of David, they were calling him son of David. And if they could link him to the son, being the son of David, they would have to admit that he was higher than David and deity. And they didn't want to answer because they would be trapped. Okay, any questions? Matthew 23. It's amazing how everything and everyone has an appointed time for something of God. You're right, Brandy, isn't that? Okay, let's see. Hi, Lynch. Hi, Lorenzo. I've had at least a couple of frenemies. Could it be referring to the tares and wheat where they brought in both bad and good? Well, but my point was not the harvesting of it. They brought him into the festival, brought it into the marriage, the wedding. And so, but that's not what God does. He harvests. I mean, I get what you're saying, and because that definitely does happen. It's a separation. And maybe that's the picture of the casting the man out who didn't have his wedding garments on. And I have thought of that as well. But then I think, here's implying that both were invited to the wedding. And I guess in a sense they are. The invitation's open to anybody. And maybe some people will kind of be there and God's going to go, boop, you're out. It's a good way to think about it. And I definitely do know it's like the tear in the wheat that way, but I was just thinking in the way they translated and worded it seemed a little bit odd. Maybe they were saying Gentile and Jew in verse 10. Right, I totally agree. Is the girl okay like the girl that fell out the window? She's not okay. She's not okay, Angela. She's alive. Or Isabel, she's alive, but please keep praying. She's not okay. The little girl's not okay. Her name is Fifi Serafina. Please pray for her. I have a fun story. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's keep going. Chapter 23. Then Yeshua spoke to the multitudes and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Listen. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. Bruh. Did you catch it? The scribes and Pharisees sit in Moshe's seat. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, what they tell you to do, the scribes and Pharisees, according to the law of Moses, that observe and do. Yeshua's right there. Do the law of Moses. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. See, everything they say that's in accordance with the law of Moses, do it. But don't do what they do, because through their traditions of men, they make void some of the commandments of Moses. Remember that? Remember that? So don't do what they do. They said they followed the Torah, but they ended up following what was later codified as the Talmud. Don't forget that. For they bind heavy burdens hard to bear and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do to be seen by men. They make their phylacteries broad and enlarge the borders of their garments. So the phylacteries, they tie the commandments on themselves. And they broaden the borders of their garments, like the robes and stuff with the zitziot. They love the best places at feasts, the best seats in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi, which means great one, great one. But you, do not be called Rabbi, great one. For one is your teacher, the Messiah, and you are all brethren. Do not call anyone on earth your father, like the father priesthood. Like don't do that Catholic thing. For one is your Father, he who is in heaven. And do not be called teachers. This isn't the way like of instructor teacher, because we are to have instructors, and he says it in Isaiah. Paul reiterates it. This is more in the same vein as like the one who teaches great things, like a rabbi. It's a very similar concept to that, being an exalted one. Do not be called teachers, for one is your teacher, the Messiah. But he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. So Paul's not crazy when he says some have the gift of some are teachers, some are prophets. It's you have to understand the context being used. He's just saying the ultimate teacher, the ultimate goal of everything of our faith and our leader is Messiah, Yeshua. Okay? And do not be, verse 11. But he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. He who is greatest among you shall be your servant. Do not exalt yourself. Do not exalt yourself. Do not exalt yourself. If you are a servant of God, you'll never think of yourself as smart. You'll never think of yourself as anything. Because honestly, if you think you're smart, you're dumb. Because nobody's smart compared to God. Nobody's anything. We can't think of ourselves as good. We can't think of ourselves as like great things. We're just nothing. And the closer you are to God, the more intelligence you've been proven to have, the lower you actually feel about yourself. Like you know nothing. Right? The most intelligent people on the earth have been proven to be like, they know they don't know anything because they're always seeking answers, and they're humble and they're teachable. And that's what we need to be, because we just are supposed to serve each other, not be exalting ourselves, not demanding others serve us. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, for you neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses for a pretense, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you will receive greater condemnation. See, their mouths are near him, but their hearts are far from him. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. And this is what the Christian church does. People come seeking God, and they want Yahweh, and they want relationship, and they're taught lawless, antinomian, Babylonian crap. Isn't that horrible? Judaism does the same as Christianity today. Woe to you, blind guides, who say whoever swears by the temple, it's nothing, but whoever swears by the gold of the temple, he's obliged to perform it. What? Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whoever swears by the altar, it's nothing, but whoever swears by the gift on it, he's obliged to perform it. These are old little rules from the Talmud, not the Torah. Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies it? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and all things on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it and by him who dwells in it. Their hypocrisy, they're like, well, you can swear by this, but not this. You can swear by this and not this. You can do this. The parsing apart of the little tiny details that they've made problematic. Religion sucks. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Listen to this very carefully. For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, notice not money, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. These you ought to have done, so you should have tithed of the anise, the mint, and the cumin, without leaving the others undone. So he's like, you should have obeyed those laws, but don't neglect these laws. So God is telling you, hey, you should obey these laws, but don't neglect these. To all of us, make sure we're not neglecting any of the laws. Blind guides who strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Religion makes the word of God so hard because it adds man's indoctrinational teachings into it, and it makes it like swallowing a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cleanse the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. That is the Christian faith like I've never seen. If that's a perfect description of the modern Christian faith. Blind Pharisee, first cleanse the inside of the cup and dish, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead men's bones and uncleanness. Uncleanness. That means there's a cleanness. That means the Torah still lives and exists and stands. Hi, Dale. Read that again. They're whitewashed tombs, which outwardly are beautiful, but inwardly they're full of dead men's bones and uncleanness. Uncleanness. If there's an uncleanness, there's a cleanness. See, church people sit behind a pulpit. Rabbinical Judaism people sit behind they have a pulpit too when you go to a synagogue. Now, they used to not, but they do. And they look religious, they look like good people, but present them with the truth of Torah, and you'll see where their heart is. They prefer disobedience, and they're truly a son of disobedience. They're not a humble, obedient servant of Yahweh. Even so you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you're full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you're witnesses against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. They're saying, like, if we had been alive, we wouldn't have done this. But Yeshua's saying, but you're their sons. And you're witnesses, you literally are admitting it. Fill up then the measure of your father's guilt. Serpents. Because he's saying, you're saying they're your fathers, you're their descendants. You're going to fill up their cup of their guilt. Serpents, brood of vipers. How can you escape the condemnation of hell? He called them names, people. He didn't tiptoe around. People will say, oh, you can't. If you have a mocking tone, you're not a god. Elijah literally mocked the prophets of Baal. I just think people like make up crap and they just are lacking the Holy Spirit so much. Yeshua called them serpents, brood of vipers. He called them names. He called them a name. It doesn't say in Scripture you can't call somebody a name. Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city. He didn't say that you would exalt them, be friends with them, talk well of them, did he, guys? I'm going to send you prophets, wise men, and scribes. And what are you going to do? What are the religious people going to do to them? Kill them, crucify them, scourge in the synagogues, persecute from city to city. That on you may come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Assuredly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Oh, he's like, I tried to save you. I wanted to gather you. See, your house has left you desolate. He was prophesying. He was foreshadowing what was coming in 70 years, or 40 years after this. The Romans were going to come and scatter them again, take down the temple. See, your house has left you desolate, for I say to you, you shall see me no more. You shall see me no more till you say, Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. So Yeshua says, I'm going to leave, and you're not going to see me again until we say, Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. It always makes me so sad. All the rebukings of Yeshua, how bad we are, how religious people, how we just, we break his heart, and he came to save us. Okay, exactly. You got it, John. Hypocrites then, hypocrites today. The modern, I've said it a million times. I've heard some of you saying it now. I love that. The modern Christians are the Pharisees of yesterday. Modern Christianity is the Pharisaical and Sadducical systems of yesterday. Okay, any questions on that chapter? We read 21, 22, and 23. I don't think my brain can take 24 tonight, but maybe. Verse 13. Let me look at it here. So what happens is the religious leaders, for example, the Christian pastors, they take away the pathway to repentance. They shut the path up to you. They pretend they're teaching you the path, but they actually make it so you can't go in. Because, see, man-made traditions keep you from the truth of God. So at this time, he was speaking to Pharisees and Sadducees who were doing religious Talmudic traditions, man-made traditions, which were later codified in the Talmud. And he was telling them that those traditions were keeping people out of heaven, and they themselves were not going to enter because of the things they were doing, because they were setting aside the commandments of God to keep to the traditions of men. Well, it's okay. Yeah, Jesus Christ is the Messiah. I'm not sure Yeshua. We just call him. So, Tamika, you're okay. Yeshua HaMashiach is the Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is deity. But just remember, it's okay to call him Jesus Christ. It's more appropriate to call him Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua the Messiah, our salvation the Messiah. But Jesus is a transliteration through the Greek language. It does not bear any resemblance, nor is it rooted in the word Zeus. I have looked it up. I have looked at the etymology. I studied linguistics. I was an English professor. I know language. The name Jesus, just because you hear the Jesus, that's people who are unlearned, very unlearned people, say that it's based on Zeus. It is not. It's not. There are different words in the Greek language. So if you say Jesus, he's going to know who you're talking about. Yeshua is more appropriate because that was his name through the Greek. So the Greek Septuagint translated the way that the Hebrew people were speaking at that time. So we know it was not Yahshua. It can't be Yahshua. It was Yeshua. Because the Greek manuscripts that were written then were using and writing the words, using the vowel points that were available in the Greek language, writing down what they heard the Hebrew people speak. Please remember that. There's no Yahshua. It's Yeshua. And people say, oh, but he bore the name of the Father. Duh. When he comes back, his name is Yahweh Tzidkenu. That's what that's referencing. He will bear the name of the Father. When Yeshua returns, we won't call him Yeshua. He will be Yahweh Tzidkenu. Sometimes I'm just how do people not see? It can't be Yeshua. It can't be Yahushua. In the Greek Septuagint, it proves it so clearly. When they translated the name of Yeshua, they wrote Jesus because there's no SH sound, so they had to put the one letter that could stand in for SH sound in Greek. And then because it was a masculine name rather than feminine, they took off the A and put an S because in the Greek language, to identify a man, you had to end in the S. So it became Jesus in the Greek. It would have been Yeshua, but they don't have an SH in the Greek, and they had to take off the A and switch it to an S. It doesn't say Yah. They have a letter for Ah in the Greek language, and they didn't say Yasus anywhere. Nowhere in the Greek Septuagint, anywhere. When you look at the word Yehoshua, Joshua, the old words from Genesis to Malachi, when they translated the name Yeshua, because there's a Jeshua there and a Joshua, those names are always Yeshua. None of them say Yahshua. So please remember, look at the Greek Septuagint as a source to help you understand the transliteration of what was being spoken and what they heard. They did not translate it as Yahshua. They translated it very specifically as Yeshua because that's what they were heard. So they wrote Jesus. I hope that makes sense. Yes, the camel going through the eye of a needle is a Hebrew idiom. I'm so happy my sunshade. I feel like I'm going through an identity crisis. Okay. Shade is on here tonight. Oh, hi. Hi, Shade. I'm still finding myself being hypocritical and judgmental in my day-to-day. Well, Lord, please help Sarah. Help us all. Aren't we all hypocrites? Aren't we all losers? Aren't we all wicked? It's a constant battle against the flesh. But with the power of the Holy Spirit, we got it. Yahweh's good. Can you explain verse 15 again? And sorry that I'm going cross-eyed. I am so exhausted. So Matthew 22, verse 15. Wait a minute. Or are you in 20? Wait a minute. I'm sorry, 23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to one proselyte, but when he is one, you make him twice the son of much as hell of yourselves. Okay. You ever see those preachers out there with signs? Let's go save sinners. So they go out there and they find somebody who wanted God. They find a soul who was ready. They catch the fish. They bring him in and they teach him man-made rules rather than the truths of God. So how many of you were indoctrinated in a church system that taught not to follow the law? You were indoctrinated in the Babylonian religious system based on antinomian rules, which is basically founded in the Antichrist system of lawlessness. That pastor, those people who went to proselytize you, who went to gain you, who travel, like they would go to college campuses, schools, throw events, throw all sorts of music parties trying to catch your soul. They'd catch you and they'd make you twice as much as son of hell. How the people arguing with you, 90%, 99% of the people who argue with me on my posts are unlearned, unscholared people who were taught by a really bad pastor. They don't know the scriptures themselves, but they're going off what their pastor told them. So that's made them twice as much a son of hell. Does that make sense? And that's exactly what happened with Rabbinic Judaism. They would do the same thing. Somebody really wanted God, but they would school them in religion and man-made traditions that were against God's rules, and it would, boom, really ruin them. Because then those people, here's the problem. Most people aren't smart enough to do firsthand knowledge research. Please don't get me wrong, but most people aren't. What they do is they listen to what other people say. They hear what this person says or that person says. They don't do the research themselves. And that's a pretty scary thing because then they're relying on other people. So what they do is they remember what they've been told, but they didn't look it up themselves. They didn't search it themselves. They didn't study the Greek language themselves, the Hebrew language themselves. They didn't get in and dive in and do it. Therefore, they are going off what somebody else told them, and it ends up being very dangerous because they're adamant, they're unlearned, and so those unlearned people, they don't know what they're talking about. All they have to go off is what somebody told them. That's the danger, like with people with the flat earth movement. None of them have conducted any experiments. Like, I would love them to just please simply set out a sundial. A sundial that works proves the earth is round, not flat. Please look at an airplane in the sky. Do your own research. Make two perpendicular planes and show over here, use simple triangulation, use simple trigonometry. That airplane from farther away, the angle between you and that airplane is like small, what is it, 15 degrees, let's say 8 degrees. All of a sudden, as the airplane gets higher over your head, the rate of the angle increases, right? That proves that on the flat earth model, the sun would zing over our head at noon, because if the sun was over there on that point, when it's farther away, it would appear to move slower, but on a sundial, it moves 15 degrees every hour, just bear in mind. So then it would go from 8 degrees to 15 degrees to whatever, 20. And then at the height of the day is this angle at 90, it goes over your head and it moves at like 22 degrees that hour, or 27 degrees that hour. No, but that's like a sundial would easily prove that doesn't happen. A sundial doesn't move at noon faster, which would be the case if it was a flat earth. It just doesn't. Also, like the airplane, like I said, it appears to be moving slower when it's farther away, even though it's the same rate of speed, and it zings over your head as it gets closer, but the rate of speed didn't change. The sun would do the same thing. So there's so many things that I ask that, I would hope people would stop listening to what people told them and they don't have any firsthand knowledge themselves. Do the experiment. Go to a lake. Go to Lake, the Great Lakes, and get a helicopter. Do the exact same experiment that some people did trying to prove the earth was flat. They proved it was round. They set up a laser, put a point on the helicopter from this. They said the lake water must be flat. So from this shore to that shore, we're going to prove it's flat. It didn't. It proved it was curved because the laser beam actually hit higher on the helicopter on the other side. So my point is, do your own research with anything. Do your own research. Don't just listen to what somebody said oh my God, the internet is so dangerous. You know why? And I meant like, oh my God, like help. The internet is so dangerous because people say whatever they want and then people believe it. And they don't test it. They don't research it. They don't validate it. They don't do any experimentation. They just listen. I promise you, people have flown over Antarctica. I promise you, people have flown over the North Pole. They're like these pilots who say that. Remember, pilots on average don't have a very high IQ. I don't mean that mean, but if you look at statistical records of the IQ, you'll find it. People hear something and they don't listen. They're just like, everything that they said, everything that they've tried to say is false when you look at the actual research. So my point is, same thing with Scripture. Same thing with Scripture, and same thing. People will go to church on Sunday and say, well, my pastor told me Jesus is the Sabbath. But there's not one verse in the Bible that says that. And people will say, well, my pastor said Jesus took away the penalty took away the law, so I don't have to obey it anymore. No, there's not one verse that says that. Well, my pastor says that Sunday's the Sabbath. Now, there's not one verse that says that. Know what it says for yourself, people. That's what I'm trying to say. Know for yourself. And the Greek language, I'll just be reading the Hebrew and find out these things, seeing things in the Greek, and I'll be reading it. So I know what it says. You're all listening to me, but I also hope you go and look at it yourself. So it's in your mind, because me, it's so easy to remember because I looked at it. Nobody taught me this. The Holy Spirit. I went and looked at the Hebrew language. I looked at the Greek language. Oh, now here's the thing. I'm telling you, so now you have like one step further. You can just take and look at the original. I'm telling you what to go look for. Go look and see if you see it. That makes sense. Hi, Summer. That makes me, okay. Can you explain for neither go in yourselves nor do you allow? Okay, and I did talk about that, Marie. If I didn't get it, ask again. It's similar to how Christianity seeks out members. Exactly, Cassandra, I explained that. What is the Septuagint? It is the Greek translation of Genesis to Malachi. It's the first, for example, we have the English New King James Version Bible. It's that equivalent. It's the Hebrew, it's the Greek translation of the Bible. Because they were teaching mass traditions over God. Good job. I'm still hoping you will pick apart that video I sent you where the young man proves through transliteration his view. Oh, Summer. That Jonathan Truth, his stuff is so false. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And if you could just look at it, like what he's saying, he's pointing out texts that aren't, it doesn't have the vowel points in there. It doesn't have, like, he's just wrong. He's just, whew. Good night, Bonnie. Hello, hello. Okay, I understand. Thank you. That's what I was thinking. Okay, perfect. That's what we do today. Yep, exactly. Jeanette, we were just following the question. Don't you need the Holy Spirit to truly understand Scripture? Absolutely. You absolutely need the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit leads you in obedience to the laws. Ezekiel 36, Jeremiah 31 says the Holy Spirit would write the laws on our hearts and minds, those little statutes, the commandments, it would teach us them. It helps us. The funny thing is that knowing whether the earth is flat or not will not get... Exactly. And we don't care. I don't care what shape you think the earth is, but they will argue vehemently. If they start to believe that the earth is flat, they get, many of them, not all, please make sure you hear, they will get so angry at me. I have been called so many names by those people. It's like, oh my gosh. I've actually had a number of them say it's a salvation issue, which is ridiculous. And I had that whole vision where Yeshua literally took me out of my body, up above the heavens. I was standing by Yeshua, floating over the earth. And he said, Mel, and I saw the earth with volcanoes and fires and all sorts of cataclysmic events. And he looked at me with a heartbroken heart. He said, Mel, the only thing that's going to get my people through what's coming is righteousness, faith, humility, justice, all those things. He said, but they're arguing about the shape of the earth. It's a distraction of Satan. And boom, I was back in my body. Where do we stand for people? Okay, where do we stand for people with our beliefs? Church doesn't seem like the right place. Definitely don't go to church. Definitely don't go to the synagogue, sweetie. Find like-minded believers in your community that are Torah-obedient, whole Bible believers. Feel free to join us on our Zooms and our lives. This is the live. We'll do a Zoom on Saturday morning. Normally I do more. Summer is tough. Summer is tough. Summer is extremely busy. I don't ever take time for myself, so nobody thinks that I'm taking a night for myself. I am working. If I'm not on here, I promise you I am working. Nobody understands unless you've been a farmer. If you do, you do. You know what I'm talking about. There's no downtime for the farmer in summer. So join us on our lives, join us on our Zooms, look at Psalm 119 Ministry Finders and just see our fellowship finders and see if there's somebody near you. Put it out on here where you're from. Somebody might be there. It's just you pray to. Also take this opportunity to be with Yahweh so you hear his voice above anybody else's. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced about flat earth. I researched them. But I bet you haven't done the experiments, Summer. So if you do the experiments, I want to see after you do experiments. Go get some experiments. Do a sundial tomorrow. If the sundial moves at 15-degree increments, it already contradicts the flat earth model. If you can look at the airplane in the sky and it looks to be going slower when it's farther away from you and then faster over your head, that disproves the flat earth model. If you go to the Great Lakes and you can put here and here, see, those are the experiments I'm telling you to do. Simple trigonometry, simple basics. Just saying, those right there throw their theory out. Oh my gosh, they got what was it? They spent over $100,000 on this machine trying to prove the earth was flat from the Flat Earth Society, and it proved it was round. A gyroscope. So anyway, oh my, I'm so sorry, I'm back. Awesome, Dorothy, hi. Could you explain the difference between the V and the W in Yahweh? I know it's Yahweh. So it's just like David. We always say David. Even people when they say Yehovah, they don't say Yehovah. Yehovah. The Vav in Hebrew, when it's a consonant, most likely was a V. Some people think it was a W, but they have no evidence of that. None. Because they don't have anybody speaking in their ear saying what it used to be said. Like they try to say that they think it was, but there's no Greek manuscript showing that. There's no like transliteration of the text of Hebrew showing it with a W sound. Every word that has ever been translated in those other is a V sound. So, I don't know. Here, in fact, let's look at something. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something, guys. Sorry, I'm so stuffy tonight because I was just moving hay a little bit ago. Okay, let's look at this. Let's go here, for example, to Ruth 4:22. Let's read it. And let's click on something. Sorry. We're going to read. And I want to do something. We're going to click on the verse. The interlinear. If you have a Blue Letter Bible app, that will help you. Then we're going to click on that word David. Now it's David in Hebrew. Click on that verse. Click on that right here in Greek. Oh, I don't have my volume up. How do you do the volume on this? There we go. Here, I'm going to do it again. So we have the David. It's Strong's 1138. And it's David. And it...
Strong's G 1138. David.
Okay.
David.
So, they actually have like the B sound. But if you know Spanish, you know the B and the V are interchangeable. And in other languages, the same. I studied linguistics. So the B and the V, it doesn't say W sound at all in the Greek writing of this. The Greek people were right there by the Hebrews. They heard what they said. They knew what they were translating. So those are some simple tests you can do to say what was the actual sound of the letter. It helps. Okay. You should join us on Zoom. Thank you, Jeanette. Tamika Books, we do Bible study. There you go. And Tamika, we do Bible studies in our home too here locally, but I don't think you live in Sheridan, Wyoming. This Sabbath, it's at 9 a.m. Good job. Screenshot of the Zoom info. I'll be there this Sabbath. Awesome summer. Good night, Alex. Love you, sweet girl. Okay, good night, Tristan. Love you. I found the Tree of Life version. Had it last night on the Bible app. What are your thoughts on it? I've heard some good things about it. I've never read it fully, so I can't give an honest opinion. I don't think that's fair. But I've heard some good things. I've seen some good things. Okay. So you're posting. Okay, I don't know. I post a lot of reels. I don't remember which one I posted Sunday, summer, but I'm glad Yahweh used it. Why does the Tanakh end on the book of 2 Chronicles with not Malachi started? Oh, because it's just the order. So remember, this Bible isn't the Bible. This isn't like the Bible. We think this is the Bible, and the Geneva Bible wasn't the original Bible, and the New King James were like people. I swear, like brain cells got sucked through the vacuum of space recently in the last 10 years. I don't know what people are thinking. The Geneva Bible wasn't the original Bible. That was like one of the first English translations of the Bible, but it wasn't the original Bible. The original Bible were simply scrolls, different books. Malachi, put up a scroll. Here's the book of Malachi. Here's the book of Genesis, Bereshit. Here's the book of Deuteronomy. All of them were on scrolls. They were parchments. And they were just kept together. Eventually, they put the scrolls that the Masoretes saw that all aligned with the Torah together. So, typically, if you look at like the way the Hebrews put it together, they're going to put the history books at the end because they put the prophets before that. Does that make sense? I can't get over like people when they say the Geneva Bible was their first Bible. Baloney. The first Bible was written in Hebrew. It wasn't the Geneva Bible. How do we miss 1 and 1 is 2? I don't know. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh, it's crazy. Anyone in Texas on here? You got a whole bunch of people in Texas, from Texas on here, Sarah. And, but Texas is like a whole country in itself. Billy, you're going to get up here and milk those. Okay, I'm going to have to, I'm getting behind on comments. Okay. Awesome. Okay, just a heads up, Saturday I will be with all my sons and family. Yay for bigger. Oh, awesome, sweetie. Well, we'll miss you, Dale. Okay, so Brandy sent a request for something, I don't know what. Oh, okay, I'm gonna leave this up a little bit because you guys are finding each other. Holy cow, I'm getting tired. Look at me. We will miss you, brother. Yep. Okay. Okay. Okay, vacuumed into space. I know, right? The Ethiopian Bible. Yeah, that's not original either. Isn't it crazy? It's like, it's funny they say the Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible was like a compilation of some of them, but it, like, yeah, it's crazy. Well, you mentioned David. Elohim just showed me a few days ago when I was looking at possible babies. Oh, Dorothy, I hope you have a little baby David. I did, thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. And Danielle, there's a homeschooling chat thread for, yeah, for those who, if you have homeschooling questions or whatever, and Danielle has some coloring pictures on there. Oh, Tamika. Oh, let's just pray for your mama to be set free. Open her eyes, Father God. And Tamika, you stay faithful to Yahweh. Do not go to the, we're supposed to come out of Babylon before the coming and dreadful day of the Lord. So we don't want to go to that place. Okay. I know, I gotta go get my hay moved. I was just waiting for people. Okay. Okay, guys. I better go get the hay moved. I got a lot of bales to do. And then I got to be up at 3 to be over there by 5. Pray for us, please. Pray for safety. Please pray for safety. Pray, because you know there's always snakes in the fields and whatnot. Please pray for protection. Pray that nobody gets hurt, nobody gets bit. One year we were loading bales of hay. I fell right through the trailer. I don't even weigh very much. Had a bale of hay on. Whoop! As I was holding the bale of hay, I fell through the trailer. Didn't feel good. So, I love you all. Have a blessed night. I will, take deep breaths, huh? I'll try to download this, put it on the YouTube soon, and I'll see you guys Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. There's almost no chance on God's green earth that I'll have time for another live before then. Nope, because I have 2 photo sessions Friday and I'm buried tomorrow. Okay, I love you all. Have a super blessed night. I really am thankful for all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for just being you.